Those who lost loved ones in the Parkland shooting last year urged Congress today to make schools safer. The group appeared before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. One of those who testified was Tom Hoyer. His 15-year-old son Luke was one of the 17 people killed in the school shooting.
My son was one of the first to die. The police tell me that he felt the impact of the bullets before he heard the shots. One moment he's standing outside a classroom, looking forward to the end of the school day, carefree. And the next moment, he's on the floor, unable to move and dying. Many times I've wondered what his last thoughts were. Kids and teachers have been dying. School starts in less than 2 months. Now is the time to build on the progress that we made last year. Please don't let another anniversary of my son's death and the death of 16 others pass without concrete steps towards making our kids and teachers safe in school.
Tom Hoyer joins me now, along with Tony Montalto. Tom is the treasurer of Stand With Parkland, and Tony is the president of Stand With Parkland. He lost his daughter Gina during this shooting. Thank you both so much for being with us. Tom, what did you want those senators to take away from your testimony today?
You know, there's a couple things. One was I wanted to bring a human face to the statistics of school shootings. And the other thing is I want to impress upon that committee, you know, after all this happened to us and all that we've seen, how complicated this problem is. And it's not a simple, single solution. And we're advocating for several different solutions. 3 main areas, really. Better mental health support and screening in the schools, securing the school campuses, and responsible firearms ownership. We need progress in all 3 of those areas, we think, in order to stem the tide on school shootings.
And Tony, you have said of your group, quote, "We don't want to hold out for the home runs. We want to hit a bunch of singles and score the same amount of runs." So how does your approach differ from other groups?
Well, Stand With Parkland has always been focused on taking the practical steps that we can take. Let's get both sides together, look at what we agree on, and take those, put them into law or policy. Once that's done, let's come back another day and discuss the things that are harder to agree on. But if you go into a room full of Democrats and ask them if they want safe schools, they're all going to raise their hands and say yes. If you go into a room full of Republicans, ask the same question, you're going to get a yes as well. So instead of looking at the things that separate us, let's look at our common ground, capture those agreements, make new policies and laws, and then move forward.
And Tom, I want to ask you about school safety in the 2020 election. Congressman Eric Swalwell centered his campaign around the issue of gun control, but he's now dropped out of the race. Are you satisfied with the attention the other candidates are bringing to this issue?
Well, I'm not satisfied, obviously. You know, we are focused on the 3 things that I spoke about. You know, he was a little more extreme than we are in some of the things that we've been talking about. We're middle of the road, as Tony was describing. So I think there'll always be more attention on this. That's one of the reasons we came today, was to put a human face, you know, make people remember and see what can happen when there's no action on this topic.
And Tom, a lot of candidates center their position as being against the National Rifle Association. However, you told the Tampa Bay Times that you'd be willing to work with the NRA when it comes to school safety. What specifically would you like to work on with the NRA?
Yeah, what I told him is we work with anybody. And there are things that the NRA promotes that we would promote. Things like safe storage of weapons in the home, where actually most mass shooters in schools get their weapon.
And Tony, Florida Senator Marco Rubio is the main sponsor of a gun control bill supporting what's known as red flag laws. The measure has not gotten much traction, but can you explain what a red flag law is, and do you feel it's an effective part of a solution?
Well, a red flag law allows law enforcement to remove weapons from the home or stop someone from buying a weapon who's been deemed a threat to themselves or others. This is a very important tool for law enforcement. It helps them keep people safe, not only to prevent school shootings, but also if somebody's having a tough time and they've been deemed a threat to themselves, you remove the weapons from the home. That is a valuable tool in reducing the suicide rate.
And why do you think, Tony, that this hasn't gotten much traction?
Well, I think that people tend to run to the extremes with any argument or any discussion about firearms. So what we're trying to do is bring people to the middle to say, hey, let's look at this. Isn't this a practical solution? It helps solve this problem, it helps solve this problem. Let's come together. If we don't agree on it right away, let's talk about it and then move forward. Again, we need people to have discussions and make progress. To fail to move forward on these issues is a failure in protecting our students and teachers at schools.
Well, Tom, the sheriff of Pinellas County, Florida, Bob Gualtieri, also testified today. He said many schools across Florida are not complying with recently enacted laws that seek to improve school safety. What are the biggest challenges your group faces in getting comprehensive reforms enacted on the ground?
In that situation, it's just awareness. There is a general sense that it can't happen here. Tony and I are living proof that it can happen anywhere. We have to have a sense of urgency around implementing safe schools, secure schools around the state and around the country.
And I wonder, are there any lawmakers in particular that you think you would hold up as examples of those who are able to maybe reach across the aisle and have a bipartisan approach to what, as you have both pointed out, is such a highly charged issue?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I'd point out that Chairman Johnson today, in holding this hearing with Ranking Member Peters, certainly reached across the aisle to shine a light on this vital issue of school safety.
And Senator Rick Scott, while he was governor of Florida in the wake of the Parkland shooting, actually worked very hard to help us get meaningful legislation passed in the state of Florida.
And what is your sense of that now? And given, this current political environment that we're in, how hopeful are you of action?
Well, quite frankly, if we can't come together for the safety of our children and teachers at school, then we've got big problems in this country. We're here in Washington. It happens to be the 50th anniversary of the Apollo moon landing. This country did not get to the moon by focusing on what we couldn't do. We took our best and our brightest, we applied our brains to a very complex problem, and we solved it. We need to do the same regarding the safety of our children.
Tony Montalto and Tom Hoyer, thank you both so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.